And typically we'll do two things. We will either stuff our feelings that are bad, that are negative. I don't want to say bad. They're just negative feeling. We stuff those, or we feel them. And we usually love to feel the happy feelings.
Yes. The emotional release technique. It's Hunt for Wellness, episode number 93. Welcome to Hunt for Wellness. I am John Hunt.
And I'm Christy Hunt.
And this is the show where we help you live your best life, mind, body, and spirit. And this episode of Hunt for Wellness is brought to you by waterdistillers.com. Great machines that provide great water for your great wellness. Check it out at waterdistillers.com. Emotional release technique.
Yes.
That kind of sounds interesting. I know we've talked about this before too, but this is part of really part of the whole feelings, the emotional side of how essential oils can help you out.
Right.
And but the emotional release technique, that sounds like it's a procedure.
It is. It is a procedure.
Yes.
So it's a procedure that's aided by essential oils.
Okay, good. So what are we going to learn about?
So if a person is missing that peacefulness in life,
I know a few people like that,
or even just for a few minutes, or it's prolonged, it's going on, it's stress, and a person is feeling stressed, tense, angry, upset.
They're not very peaceful.
Right. That is correct. This is a way to address those feelings.
Right. Well, I think traditionally when we talk about, if you're all wound up about something, take a breath, sit back, relax, meditate, and those are all good things, right?
Yes.
But there's oftentimes more to it than meets the eye.
Right. And typically we'll do two things. We will either stuff our feelings that are bad, that are negative. I don't want to say bad. They're just negative feeling. We stuff those, or we feel them. And we usually love to feel the happy feelings.
Yes, we do.
And we don't like to feel the stressful ones, which are actually warning signals. Those negative feelings are saying, hello, there's something wrong here. Yep. You need to deal with this. Please deal with this situation, whatever it is. Why are you upset or sad or irritated? I mean, momentary stuff is not a problem.
Right. And I think a lot of people stuff their emotions.
Yeah, it's our culture.
And their feelings, right? So how do we process those? How do we get through this?
Yeah. Well, that little child's rhyme, you can't go over it. You can't go under it. You can't go around it. You got to go through it.
Go through it.
Is true. You have to go through whatever it is, process through it. You can't skirt the issue.
Right.
If you want to feel good, mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
Because what happens when a person stuffs their emotions, it goes actually into a part of the body. And if it's not dealt with, that part of the body, it will start to feel sick.
Right.
Have pain.
Well, and it probably manifests it in a lot of different ways. People get stomach aches or they get headaches or whatever it is.
Right.
A lot of times those physical signs are really an extension of stuffing the emotions or being in an emotional state that's not good.
Right, exactly. And those are also warning signals. Yeah. So those physical experiences are warning signals. I had a situation where I was reading a book and suddenly my nose started running. I wasn't sick. I'd been perfectly fine. Nothing was going on. And then I'm like, what is this? This is also at a time when I was learning about these emotions. And then Suddenly I needed to go to the bathroom and I had the runs.
Ugh.
So I looked these things up. I'm like, what is going on? They both meant the same thing because runny nose, the nose was running, and the runs, or diarrhea, as we call it, what was going on was I was running away from a situation. Emotionally, I was running away. I was avoiding a certain person who was causing me distress. This person had said some things to me that really hurt me, and I just didn't want to be around that person. So I was running away, but my body was giving me the warning signals to say, hey, deal with it.
Right. So we have the emotional release techniques. What exactly is that anyway? We should probably, talk about the solution.
Yes.
And how you actually go through it. Because it is a process, right?
It is. So it's a process of identifying what is the stressful emotion and letting it go, and then replacing it with a positive emotion.
Yeah.
So we're not just like emptying the tank and not replacing it. We're putting something good in.
Out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So how do you identify?
So you kind of need to take a moment. And sometimes you can't take a moment at the time that you're experiencing it, but then just take note of what you're feeling and what is going on. Maybe even jot yourself a note.
Okay.
Put it on your phone in the notes section or something like that. And then when you have some time, and here's a couple of options to deal with things. I'd encourage you to deal with stuff every day, either at the end of the day, and like God says, hey, don't let the sun go down on your anger in Ephesians 4:26. So at the end of the day is a great time to deal with things like, did something come up that I need to deal with? And
also be a lot easier to sleep.
Exactly.
You don't want to be tossing and turning because you're wound up about something.
Right. Or in the beginning of the day, like Jesus did in Mark 1:35, when he would go out early in the morning and take time to pray and then evaluate the day and pray about whatever's going on.
And your mind is fresh then too.
Yes, exactly. And so you're able to deal with things. You've got energy. And then, or if your life is super crazy, you could do it on Sundays, or the day of the week that is a quieter day for you, where you have time to just focus on some issues, pray, think, process. So
this would be under the category of self-care, wouldn't it?
It absolutely is
self-care. You
self-care.
want to take care of your stuff that's baggaged up.
Right, that's causing you some issues. So you identify what the issue is, and then what is the opposite of that?
Okay, how about an example?
So interestingly, fear is a very common one. That would be the number one negative emotion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If you could boil all the negative emotions down to one, it would be fear.
Yes, and yes, I could probably agree with that.
Yes.
Had a few fearful times, I know.
That's good. Everybody does.
Cool. What is the opposite of fear? It should be fearless.
Actually, it's love.
Love. Oh.
I know.
Well, the Bible says perfect love casts out fear, so that must be true.
That's right. It is true.
All right.
That's why it's love.
Okay.
So when you're loved, you are like totally loved and accepted, that unconditional love that God provides.
Yeah.
There is no fear in love.
Right. And you can't say nobody loved me, because at least God loves you.
That's right.
Right. There's
and
at least
your mother.
one person. Yeah. And your mother,
and your
regardless of how much you do against her, will always love you.
That's right. What about the Father?
The Father always loves too. And, we won't get into this on, family relationships. A lot of people have strained family relationships.
Yes.
But even if you tear all that away, there's still a base love. I mean, anyone who's had a child and been at childbirth, they look at that child and immediately fall in love with them. And it can't, it's very unexplainable. But
right.
Other than God is love, and so therefore that is a gift from God.
It is. And he gives us that love for our children. Yeah. And what I would say, I heard a pastor say, there's no love like family love.
Yeah.
Like it's so beautiful, intense, deep, but also there's no pain like family pain.
Yeah.
And those that we love really hurt us the most because we love them the most. And so sometimes those relationships can get very strained because there is a deep love and therefore a deep hurt when things go wrong. So,
all right. So we have to talk about when we want to use this.
Okay. Yeah. So, right. So we want
as much as possible.
Whenever it's needed is a great time to use it. And literally, if you're human, you can use this technique.
Right. And a lot of it's just being tuned in. You might be crabby and not real happy and not realize it's because it's an emotional thing that's causing that.
Right. If you're crabby and irritated, you actually need to try to step back and say, what's wrong?
Yeah.
What's bothering me?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on?
Right.
What have I been thinking about? What's been happening? And try to get to the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to help you so much. And also, when you think about, oh my goodness, somebody is bugging me.
Mm-hmm.
And why are they bugging me? But what's going on with them? Why are they acting in this way?
Right.
What might be going on in their life to cause them? Try to have an understanding of the other people.
Yep. It's a great time for forgiveness to come in, isn't it?
Yes. And when there is anger, that's when forgiveness needs to come in, usually.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to forgive someone multiple times.
That's right.
Don't we?
That's right.
7 times 70 or, yeah.
Which means unlimited.
Yes. Always have an attitude and a position of forgiveness.
Yes.
That will definitely help too.
Yes. And so some of the other issues that might be dealt with are worry, anxiety, just sadness that's prolonged, things like that.
Yeah.
And so you can identify what are the opposites if you're having a hard time at figuring it out. There's a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die by Trumen. That's where I got a lot of my information. Also, Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils by Carolyn Main. I highly recommend that resource. They have an online version, which is the most up-to-date, or the book. At the recording of this, the 2020 is the most recent version, but she updates it every single year with new oils, new research that she has done to identify emotions and body parts where these emotions are stored. It is a great resource.
Yeah. We'll link both of those resources over at Hunt4Wellness.com. Episode number 93. We'll have links to find those. And yeah, they're great. They're great resources because it's nice to have a listing of things, because I know when we do this with each other, we talk about, well, which one of these do you relate to the most? Boom, boom, boom. And usually there's one that's so obvious.
Yes.
Or
sometimes it's all of them.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes it's all of them too. Yeah.
So, so you find the opposite, you identify the negative, you find the opposite positive emotion, and then you pray through this prayer of transformation.
Oh, yeah. And that prayer of transformation, we've talked about this also. We have another podcast episode, and it's called, is it Live More, Stress Less, and Live More? And we'll link that also in the show notes as well. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but... So the prayer of transformation is a prayer. It's written out. In fact, I think what we can do is if you go over to Hunt4Wellness.com, episode 93, we'll link to a download of this prayer. Okay, so you can read it and just fill in the blanks for the areas where this is the negative emotion and you want to replace it with the positive.
Right. And so we're asking God to help us forgive and ask for cleansing. We're asking for forgiveness from Him. We're saying deal with each level and layer and area. And then we're asking Him to come through the generations of time. Yeah. Like sometimes issues are generational.
Yes, and they're deeply embedded.
So we need to get rid of that and ask God to help us forgive every person, place, circumstance, and event which contributed to these feelings and thoughts. And then we do that. We forgive completely and choose the positive.
Yeah, and when you've finally released that forgiveness, there is a release there.
Absolutely.
But you're not done. You need to go in and then get that positive in there. These are the declarations, really. And your words, when you say it out loud, are powerful.
Yes, they are.
So you say it, like I said, 3 times, right? And using that positive.
I choose being loved. I feel loved. I am loved.
Yes. And when you say that in repetition, I think your non-conscious mind also picks up on that.
Absolutely. And our words are powerful.
Yeah.
And then we declare that it is done and is healed, and we thank God for the healing. Yes. But I have used this on myself, hundreds of times. Yeah. I've used it with people, friends. I've used it with my kids who did not believe it would work. They're like, mother.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please just read through this. And they did. And
mean it too. I mean, you are praying to God.
Right. But I would say they didn't really think it was going to work.
Yeah.
But it did. They were surprised. And I would say that I have always seen it work 100% of the time. I've never seen it not work.
Yeah.
Or basically our prayer to God not be answered in this. And so people feel better immediately.
And there's also like essential oils, right? We can talk about that help aid this experience as well. So let's talk about those, because I know that isn't there an oil release?
Yes.
Which would be a very good one for this.
It's perfect.
Right.
So just to start with a story of how it worked with you. Mm-hmm. You had a very
Which time? Yeah.
But you had that super difficult issue, could not be resolved.
Yep.
Talked it through, prayed it through.
Yep. It was still there.
It was still there. Prayed the prayer of transformation.
Yep.
It was still there.
Yep.
And we did not have the oils with. Yep. And so we got home. It was the feelings collection. I'm like, John, just go through each of these oils in this order, and 5 minutes apart, and then 30 minutes later, after 6 oils, you came back.
Things worked.
You came back and you were fully released.
Yeah.
That feeling was gone, that tension, anxiety, stress.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the other essential oils help enhance and support different things.
Right. And so it helps our body let it go.
Yeah.
So Valor, I'm just going to highlight 3. Valor, because that is the balancing oil, and that's a perfect oil to use really with any of the emotional releases. Yeah. And I use it always first.
Yep. I use it every day just because.
Yeah. Morning and evening, we put it on the back of our neck. Kind of put it over your heart for balancing. And then right before you do an emotional release technique, just put some on your hands, breathe it in deeply. And then
it smells so good too.
And then rub it over your heart.
It's an incredible oil.
It does. It's got Northern Lights black spruce, camphor, blue tansy, frankincense, and geranium.
Wow.
So
it's awesome.
It is very beautiful smell. The second one is release. And that one is just to help let go. Because a lot of times we don't want to let go.
Yep.
I don't know if it's our pride or what it is, but we don't want to let go.
Hold on tight.
So release helps us let it go, and we put it over the liver, which is on the right side of the body, like under the breast, and it has ylang ylang, lavender, geranium, sandalwood, grapefruit, tangerine, spearmint, lemon,
blend.
Blue cypress, davana, lime, ocotillo, jasmine, matriarcha, and blue tansy and rose. So tons of oils that blend together and really help release negative emotions and move into a more positive state.
Yes. And when you combine that with the prayer of transformation, it really is a great 1-2 punch.
It is. It is. Yeah. And then just the third oil to highlight here that I think is so important is forgiveness.
Yeah. It's key.
Now, it does not do the forgiving for you. You still have to say the words, but oftentimes we don't want to forgive. Right. And so using the oil helps the body let it go. Mm-hmm. So saying the prayer of transformation, do mean it from your heart, but use the oil of forgiveness to aid your body in letting it go. So it's got melissa, geranium, sandalwood, coriander, angelica, lavender, bergamot, lemon, ylang ylang, jasmine, helichrysum, Roman chamomile, palmarosa, and rose. amazing oils, super high quality oils, spiritual oils. They are so good. And so this is also a great oil to use every single day. Put it like behind the bone, behind your ear, and just say, I forgive myself and others completely. If you do that every day,
speak it out loud.
You aren't going to be holding on to unforgiveness, which can really cause significant health issues.
Right. Yeah, awesome. Well, that is so fantastic. Again, if you go over to hunt4wellness.com, episode 93, we'll link the Prayer of Transformation, and we'll also have those other resources that we mentioned earlier, and all that combined together. And if you can get the oils, there's also, I suppose we should talk about the Feelings Collection, right? I mean,
yeah, the Feelings Collection is so good.
Yeah. It's got many, we'll put a link to that as well, because that includes forgiveness, harmony, inner child, present time, release, and valor. So you can get some of those oils we talked about right in that kit. It's awesome. And then, check out the other podcast on stress less and live more. Gotta love that one. So anything else before we wrap it up?
Well, feelings buried alive never die, so deal with the stressful ones in order to move back into peace.
Yes, and I am so relieved now. The release of this episode is over. Totally peaceful, and now we'll just have to come back next time for Hunt for Wellness.